Hi, and welcome to Learn with Sawgrass, the Tuesday edition. I'm Rhonda, the Education Manager here at Sawgrass, and we join you live every Tuesday afternoon at 3 p.m. Eastern, and then every Wednesday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern, right here on YouTube, to teach you all the things about Sawgrass, whether it be our printers, our software. We hope to give you some inspiration and some business tips as well. So join us live or always watch those recordings later. They are in the Learn with Sawgrass playlist. I am joined by Rhodes behind the camera. He is handling our sound and our lights and all that fun stuff. He's also in the chat. So if you have any questions, if you have any comments, drop them there. He'll let me know if there's anything I need to address, and I'll pester him a couple of times as well. So thank you so much for joining us today. We are going to be talking about kind of a scary thing in a lot of ways to me, or what I think could be scary, and that is about maximizing your ROI with Sawgrass. So whether you are running a sublimation business or whether you're using sublimation with VersaFlex and then VersaFlex for those other products, whatever you're selling with your Sawgrass machine, let's talk a little bit about ROI today. And to get us started, let's kind of define what that is. So ROI is your return on investment. It's a measure of how much profit or value you gain compared to how much money, time, and effort you invest. I think a lot of times, I've talked about this, I think a lot of times as small business people, as side hustlers as well, we don't always, and even as business owners, we don't always put enough value on that concept of our time. And so really, when you add all that together, are you making enough return to justify what you're expending? And so I have some tips. I hope they'll help you, some things to kind of think about when we talk about ROI and when we talk about whether or helping you to make sure that you're maximizing what your return is off of what you're expending. So some things, some categories that we're going to talk about today are these. We're going to start with optimizing your production efficiency. So basically, what can you do when you are producing orders to help make sure that you're getting the most out of your resources and out of your time as well? One of those, and it's one of the things we talked about last week when I talked about large production orders, is about your workflow. From everything from how you create, how you design, where you get your designs, all the way through how you set things up for production. I wanted to say this last week. I know it's a little odd, but there is a book called, and a TV show and a movie and several other things called Cheaper by the Dozen. And it was actually written by a local person. And it's about his father, who was an efficiency expert. And so you don't have to be an efficiency expert. You don't have to time whether it's faster to button a shirt from the top to the bottom or the bottom to the top. But it is good to look at your workflow. We've talked about it here before, how you get your files into the print utility, what's going to work best for you to save you the most amount of time, what's going to be that workflow. It also goes down to designing designs. You can use core elements throughout your designs, and by creating something once and reusing it, that's going to be a time saver. So whether it's as simple as doing that, or whether it's something, so I wear all of the training hats and education hats here at Sawgrass. I am training a new hire in our support team, and one of the things we were talking about is things like favoriting. So creating those little smaller collections in the My Sawgrass design tool whether it be favoriting graphic elements, whether it be favoriting other things. Favoriting helps save time because the things you use the most are easy to find. One thing that I highly recommend and have always highly recommended is you go through the fonts. And as I was teaching Lauren this morning, one of the things you can do is actually go in and find your favorite 1 to 3 serifs, your favorite 1 to 3 sans serifs, your favorite 1 to 3 script fonts, and maybe if you're me, your handwritten fonts, and then you have a much shorter list to pull from each time. So just taking that extra 30 minutes to go into your filters and filter all your serifs and really go through that list and narrow down what you like is going to be a time saver later on. And since your time is so valuable, that is one thing you can do to really help yourself. Another thing that is very important is how you pick colors and color management. I kind of see it the same way. You know, creating almost like a color book of your own, printing out colors with hex codes that you like to use. When you are talking about taking orders, it's going to make life easier if you limit the number of choices someone has. I'm actually going to go into the design tool and show you something. All right, let's pop into the My Sawgrass design tool. You can do this in any program you design in. I just kind of wanted to show you. And this is an easy way to do it. I'm going to pick a mug just because it's going to be easy to design on. So just to kind of go over the things that I was talking about. I am not in my account. Hold on one moment, please. I was wondering why so many things were popping up. Give me 1 second. I am in my account, but I am not in my correct account.
Well, you have 34 of them, so.
I do have 34 accounts. And if you ever wonder why Rhonda has so many accounts, the main reason is because of testing purposes. I was actually looking for something this morning on as if I was not a My Sawgrass Plus member, and that's why I was logged into a different account and then completely forgot that. Okay, let's try this again. Without all of the pop-ups. But they are very valuable pop-ups, so make sure to read them when you get them. All right, so we were talking about this just as a reminder. You can hit that little favorite button. You notice that I favorited this, this spider web. So that's in my favorites. I could create this. I could, of course, remove them from my favorites after that particular season. It's just a good way to keep everything where you want it. All right. Okay, I think I can make my point really well in sports. Okay, so let's say, Broads, is this cricket or is this baseball?
That is cricket.
That is cricket. Okay, good. I didn't want to mislabel that. So let's say I was making a mug or a shirt or whatever for a cricket team. And it is, I don't think there are any high school cricket teams around, but maybe there are some other places. But let's say this is a high school cricket team. And I can actually create some options as far as colors. So if I know the local schools may be blue, there may be a local school that is red. I would get as close to their actual colors as possible. red. There we go. And so forth and so on. I could print these. I could press these. I would probably do these on metal panels to take with me, and then let them choose. But then I have somewhere where all my hex codes are listed. And so this way it just simplifies both the order taking process, which is part of your return on investment and what you're doing. But also it's just going to make life easier for you in the long run. The other thing you can do is you can save each of these into your gallery. So you can save one with the blues, you can save one with the red, you can save one with the green, and then all you're doing is pulling that up each time. And so now you don't have that time of recreating in the moment. You already have one with the blue, you already have one with the red, you already have one with the green. So it's just an easy way to speed things up for you and to make life a lot easier. All right. Other things that are going to be important is just, what I was just doing in my Sawgrass design tool, making sure that I'm taking advantage of your galleries. If anyone needs clarification of how to access galleries or what galleries do, please drop that in for Rhodes, so I'll make sure and talk about that. But making sure that you're saving versions in your gallery or pulling from your gallery to save versions so you have different color versions. Using favorites, using the fonts, using the filters. Probably using the filters and using the favorites are two of the best time savers that you can do. And then also using your gallery to basically do a save as and having multiple versions of the same thing. Just make life a lot easier. Rhodes, I think I'm just going to go ahead and show it.
Okay.
I had exited out, so I was like, no, I won't. And then now I'm like, yes, I will. All right, cool. I'm going to go pretty easy on this, but okay, we are going to do what I was saying and go to filters. And then I'm going to use a nice block font for this. There we go. I'm going to assume that the skull colors are blue and red. I'm going to remember to hit save. Okay. Okay, let's say this is nice and all centered up and perfect. I'm going to take this, I'm going to duplicate it to the other side of the mug. And then I'm going to do a save and print. Okay, so we're going to save that into my studio. It's going to go on over. We'll give it just a minute. So we're going to save this, and this is going to make my life a lot easier in the long run. So here it is. I'm going to do red text and blue player. And I'm just going to go ahead and hit save. Now this is not going into my store. This is something that I'm preparing to sell locally. So I just need that myself in my studio. Now, if the rival to the Perry Cricut team is the Stewartville Cricut team, if I were to go in and just open this from my studio and change this to Stewart Cricut team, it would actually save over my Perry one. So any changes I made would save over what I already had. That is making good progress on saving. And I'm going to show you, I know I've showed you before, but it's always kind of helpful to see it. Once this saves to my studio, if I were to go down here and click on this, and I were to hit Open in Designer, and I were to change Perry to Stewart, then when I hit Save, it would save as Stewart, and my Perry one would be gone. So I liken it to Save and Save As. That would be a save function. It saves over what was already there, which is nice in that it keeps your studio nice and organized. But I'm going to go back in and I'm going to create new. So I hit the design button and I'm going to go down here to my gallery. And then I'm going to go down to my designs. And in my mugs. Now we do know there are a couple spots that we would like to be faster. This is definitely one of them, and we are working on that. But there is my mug. If I click on it, it's now on here. I'll go ahead and make it bigger to fit. What I would probably do at this point is delete one, go back to this, change this. If I met, oh no, I didn't misspell Stewart. Look at me, I got that right. But let's say this one was actually supposed to be green. Let's go with a darker green. There we go. Let's say that was supposed to be green and the other color is, let's say, purple. Right, but all of this is part of your ROI. What are you doing to kind of increase your speed and your flow as you're doing this? But now I could do this. I'm going to duplicate. And I'm going to hit save and print. And when this saves, I'm now going to have both. I'm going to have my Stewart and I'm going to have my Perry. And you really could go ahead and pre-do these. So if you were doing a lot of local, say, hockey teams or gymnastic clubs or whatever it may be, you could go ahead and have one designed for each. And then that's going to improve your speed as well. So whether it be having your colors set aside so that they can pick the specific color, or whether it be something like this where you've gone ahead into your studio where you can only see it, added these, you have all your varieties there to speed things up. All right, I'm going to go ahead and save that. As that's saving, the next really big thing when we talk about production efficiency is just about material waste and reducing print time. So what are the things that you can do to really speed that up? We went into a lot of this last week as we kind of talked about production workflow stuff, making sure, like, when are you removing plastic from metal? Because if you remove it too fast, you're still going to have to wipe them down. So what's going to be the workflow things that are going to help you? And then as far as waste, I talked about the fact that, like, working through issues that you may have is probably going to be one of the fastest ways to do that, but also testing materials, making sure that you're using high quality materials, which we're going to talk about, is also going to help cut down on waste too. So there they are, both of them side by side in my folder. Are there any other questions or comments that have popped in?
Lori says that using the studio is a big time saver if you just need to print and not edit the design.
Yep. Yeah, so using printing straight from that product detail page. Another thing here is using recents. So when you get a file set up, using your recents in your Sawgrass print utility is going to be another way that you can speed that up. But as far as, like, reducing your print time, you know, multitasking, doing prints as you're pressing or as you're preparing materials, working out if you're doing a lot of the same thing with different names on them, maybe setting up files. It really depends on your workflow, what's going to be best, whether it's set them up ahead of time or doing them while you're printing something else. So working out all of those things, you know, I've talked a lot about with the workflow piece, you know, what way do you print to make sure that you're not having to change settings, that you're not having to do all those things in between. And when we talk about waste, that is a big reason for waste. So if you can use the Sawgrass, the quick print folders so that your settings are already set and everything you drop in there opens up in the same file with the same settings, that's going to make your life a lot easier because those are buttons that you're not having to click. And if you're like me, things that you may forget to click or unclick. So all of those things are waste reducers. Using high quality materials, making sure that you're using a workflow, that your settings are there so you're not forgetting anything, or even just having a checklist that you're going off of to change the settings. All of these things are great ways to help increase your return on investment by decreasing your waste. And then, of course, making sure that your printer and press are ready to go. I have gotten into a habit of, with some of my workflow stuff, I'm okay with getting extra ink on my press. Why? Because I know that cleaning it is going to be easier than some of the other things that may be happening. But figuring those things out for yourself. And then, of course, when you have an issue, going through your checklist of what may be the problem. It could be your press. So are you checking your press? Are you looking for cold spots? Are you checking to make sure there's not a consistent issue or the same spot in a print that's a problem every time? So do you know your press? Are you checking your pads to make sure they look good and everything is clean and ready to go? Making sure that you have your tape and your blowout paper at hand to help with that. But as far as the other part is checking your printer before you print. You know, I've talked about it. I truly believe that you should be doing maintenance on your printer, not troubleshooting, maintenance, at least once per month, twice if you can. Printing a nozzle check, checking your belt to see if there's any lines on it. I think when I did that and I looked at the feed belt, that particular belt was fine. I found one yesterday while I was teaching that needs some TLC, that we need to get some alcohol on it and clean that off. But here's the best thing about that. I know that, and I can check that before I need to demo with that printer again, and I can go ahead and fix that. And I'm not wasting any blanks because I already know I have lines on my belt, and I already know that my wiper blade is dirty. So those are things that I can take care of in advance so that I don't lose materials because I print something and press it and then I'm surprised that there's lines, and I lose time because I have to figure out whether the lines are from the software or from the press or from the printer and all those various things. So make sure, and when we talk about the printer, it could be nozzles, it could be the feed belt. It takes a lot of time to fix all that. So checking ahead helps save time in the long run. All right, so let's talk about cost control and profit maximization. These are some really big words and there's some scary words, but they're really easy when you really think about it and look at it. So one of the biggest thing is making sure that you are pricing your items appropriately. Making sure that you're considering all of your costs. I mentioned tape, I mentioned paper. There are some projects, because of what you're doing, that you do use a lot more blowout paper. Blowout paper isn't expensive, but it is part of your cost. Making sure that you're including ink costs, making sure that you're including your time. Is this a project that is very labor intensive? Slate's going to take a little bit longer. When I do acrylic, I am very careful to never put tape on the acrylic. I put the tape on the paper. That takes a lot more time. Those are things to consider when you when you figure out the price for your item. So making sure that you are looking at that. I've talked about it. Shipping a mug requires more materials to ship than shipping a t-shirt. So make sure you're calculating the materials you need to ship into the cost if you're doing something like a mug. These things are going to be very, very important because you don't want to shortchange yourself. And again, if it's something that the labor is going to be longer, make sure you're including that, because this has to pay you too, because that's part of your return on investment, is calculating how much of your time and how much of your effort went into doing this as well, because your time is very valuable. So you want to make sure that you're fully calculating all of that into the price that you're charging your customers. And don't give the family discount or the friend discount either. I mean, it's nice, but you got to pay yourself. Another thing to remember is that, like I was just saying, your pricing strategy is going to change depending on what you're doing. How much time does it take to make it? How much effort does it take to prepare it, to ship it? But also, how popular is it? How trendy is it? Yes, you can charge more for something if there is a larger demand for it. A couple of years ago, that would have been a pop socket. Today, I don't really know what it is. But any of those things, consider that, and also consider what other people are charging. You don't want to price yourself out of being able to sell because other people are selling at a lower price, but don't undercut yourself either. So make sure that you're taking advantage of those things that you may be able to charge a little bit more of, whether it's because of the theme or because of the trendiness of the product that you're using. The other thing, of course, is just making sure that you're making smart choices. Where are you getting the materials from? Are there sales that you can consider when it comes to purchasing? Is there something that you can buy in bulk or that you can purchase early and hold on to? But at the same time, if you get too much of something, is this something that you're going to be able to sell in the long run? So all of these are big questions. It's good to have someone to kind of sound all of this off of. But these are all things to consider because there's a trade-off here. If I buy a lot of something to save money, that's great, but do I have the room to store it? Or is it something that you're going to be able to store for a long time? Inks, they have an expiration date. You want to make sure that you're not getting too much of the ink, because if you do, you may not be able to use it before it goes out of date. So those are things to consider. I've talked about the metal. If it has the plastic on it and you put it aside, that's going to be good and that's going to be dust free. But what about t-shirts? How am I going to store t-shirts if I buy them in bulk or I buy them during a going out of business sale? How do I store them where I'm not going to have to spend extra time lint rolling or removing dust or removing odors or any of those things from it before I can produce it? So all of these overhead costs are going to be important. And then of course, let's just talk about the ROI. So if you haven't seen it yet, on our website, so I am on the main page of the Sawgrass website. If you go down right below this main area, you're going to see our ROI calculator. So I am looking at, let's say that I have a Sublimation printer, and I am making mugs. If I am charging $15 for mugs, I would have to I would have to sell 56 mugs to be able to cover the cost of my printer. If I had a VersaFlex printer and I have an SG500 and I'm doing t-shirts, I would have to, if I was selling those at $25, I would have to sell 50 to pay back the cost of my printer. Now, we do have this calculator for both the 500 and the 1000. We do have this, of course, for both the Sublimation system and the VersaFlex system. So please play around with this. But if you want a little more in-depth look at how to use it and all of this about ROI, use that little button to schedule a demo, and that's going to get you a session with Rhodes, a one-on-one session where he'll walk through this calculator with you. He'll walk through all of this with you to kind of help. But let's talk about this concept of 50 t-shirts or even 56 mugs. So let's talk about what that looks like. If I were making shirts for the local football team, we just did it with cricket. If I were doing shirts for the local football team and I were simply to do a shirt, talk to the high school, got permission of course, but I were to do a shirt with every player's number. There are more than 50 players on a football team. They may not all be starting, but there are at least around 50 players on a team. If you did, my favorite player is number 15, and then have the football player, like I just did in the color, do that on a gray t-shirt, and you have one for every player, everybody has one person who loves them enough to wear a shirt that says my favorite player is number 55 or whatever it may be, and then have the team's name on it. All you got to do is get permission from the school to do something like that. But there are so many clubs and so many organizations that you could do something like this with. Football, baseball, softball, and not only, I just mentioned high school. There's little league teams. I am closely associated with an ice rink. You know how many hockey teams there are out of that one ice rink between every age level? And then there's 3 or 4 different agility levels within that too. There's so many. Everybody's got one person that loves them enough to buy a t-shirt that says my favorite hockey player or my favorite member of the blah, blah, blah team is, and you can sell. But beyond that, when we're talking about shirts, family reunions, family cruises, bridal, talking about bridesmaids luncheons, when we talk about wedding showers, all of these are things that you could do shirts for. Gender reveals can be shirts too. And then of course we have the book club, we have the Mahjong club, we have local theater groups. The possibilities are endless, and that's even before we talk about all of the people locally who may love a certain movie or certain TV show or certain anything. And that's not even talking about selling online. So I think you could get back the cost of the printer extremely quickly, whether it's doing shirts or whether it's doing mugs or whether it's doing shirts and mugs or whether it's doing shirts, mugs, and blankets, whatever it may be. And I think Rhodes has got his hand raised.
So this is a good comment from Lori, and I think everyone should be aware of this. Just keep in mind that you are a business, not a garage sale. Your prices are your prices.
Right. Exactly. And that's kind of what I said. No friends and family discounts. If you didn't hear what Rhodes said, Lori said, it is not a garage sale. Don't allow bartering. Now, I'm going to talk about an exception to that rule in just a minute. But in general, no bartering, no friends and family discount. Whether they've known you for 5 minutes or whether they've known you for 50 years, they should get the same price. Sorry, that's hard for me to do, so I know it's probably hard for you to do, but please remember, it's the same amount of effort whether you've known them a minute or 10 years. It's the way it works. Any other comments or questions?
No, Lori said she paid her first one off in 3 weeks.
Yep, and that's what you can do if you're doing this correctly. All right, so here is where, so I've been talking a lot about saving money. So I've been talking about ways that you can save time. I've been talking about ways that you can save cost by having less waste. I've talked about ways to do all of those things. And I did say I was going to talk about something and I didn't. So I'm going to go back and catch this real quick. I talked about the fact that blanks do sometimes go on sale and you can stock up with VersaFlex because we're not looking for products that are coated or with poly or that are shirts that are polyester. If you do have a local clothing company go out of business, when it hits that discount of 70% or more, go ahead and stock up on those color t-shirts. Even if it's at the cost of having to make sure you're wrapping them well in plastic to keep them clean, it's still going to be worth the money in the long run. That's a way that you can save. So look for sales, look for buying in bulk where that's going to save you money. But the other thing that's very important is making sure you're getting quality blanks. It doesn't save you money if half the blanks are going to be a fail. So if you are buying from someone reputable, if you're buying from one of our dealers, you know that the coating is going to be even and it is going to be good through all the products and everything's going to work exactly the same and you're going to have consistency in your results. And if there is a problem, they will take care of you. If you are buying from some of these discount sites or sites that don't specialize in blanks, you may get lower quality, and the cost of that to you is that you're going to have more waste. So please be careful where you buy your blanks from and make sure they are quality blanks that are going to consistently give you the result that you need. Okay, I'll get off of that one. Let's talk about some ways that you can make extra money. So product diversification and upselling. So I talked about don't discount. Well, there is one reason why you should discount, and that, well, there's two. One is going to be if someone buys multiples. People love a good discount. I got sucked into this at the grocery store last night. It was buy 2 for $6. It was something that I wouldn't have bought. So I wasn't walking in the store to buy them, but they were on sale to buy 2 for $6. You know how much money I saved off the regular price when I looked at my receipt? I saved 38 cents and spent $6 that I wasn't planning to spend. So I'm just saying, be careful that the discount is really a discount for yourself. But when we talk about doing this as a business, if you buy 3, get 1 free, buy 2, get 2 free. Any of those things, as long as it's not hurting your return on investment, as long as the number is big enough, it really works. If you have it priced so that 4 of something costs $12, then doing 4 for $10 sounds really good. It's only costing $2 off the total. That's only 50 cents off of each. I just did really good math really fast. I'm proud of myself. So that is worth it for you. And it may take someone who is going to buy 1 or buy 2, and now they're willing to buy 4 because they're getting a better deal. So think of those things. Those really help. The other thing is bundling. Buy a mug, get a coaster half off. Buy a t-shirt, get a bandana 50% off. Those kind of bundles, or buy both items for $20, whatever it may be. Those are huge because people feel like they're getting something. And the best way to remind yourself of this is think about the times that you've done it. Times that you've purchased something because of the bundle or because of that. The other thing is making sure that you're keeping those seasonal items up front. Lori says it all the time. Make sure that you never sell an ornament without the date on it. Why? Because now they have to buy one next year. So make sure that you're doing things like that. Also, scarcity works really well. It is a great concept. You have to order this by November 15th or it's no longer going to be on the shelves. Only available until. That makes them buy a little bit early. And you also can always use the whole, we may run out of it. But making sure that you're following the trends, making sure that you know what people are looking for. If you do not have an ornament for sale this year with the number 6 and 7 on them, you have missed out. I don't know what it means. I don't really care what it means, but I know that one of my teacher friends is going to get an ornament from me this year that says they survived the year of 6, 7. Because that's going to be important down the line. That's on their Christmas tree. So remember these things, add them to your store, add those things in those higher end things that are going to help you be able to increase your return on investment by being able to, as we said, have those items that are going to sell for a little bit more. And especially if it's an item that doesn't take a lot of extra effort from you, go ahead and do that. If you listen to our podcast, and definitely which you can find on Spotify, Amazon Music, and Apple Music, I had an episode where I talked about this. There are certain products that I would never sell, and it's specifically in the one with Judith from Luna Lee. There are things that I will never sell because I know the effort to create and the effort to press are too high. For me, that's going to be wine tumblers. I know they're popular, but between the having to design specifically for the arch or the arc, and then also the fact that you have to have a convection oven to do it, and all of the extra time to use the heat wrap or the shrink wrap. And then also, if you buy too many, you're going to get stuck with them if the trend ends. So consider all of that. Consider what products you want to carry for that reason. But make sure that anything that you can sell for that higher margin that you are, and that you're taking that into consideration, and that you have some of those quick grab and go things that you can do. If you can find interactive things for kids to keep them busy, whether it's picking out little pieces and parts, so they're building a charm bracelet and they're going through the charms. Not exactly expensive, but something that's going to keep mom and dad in your booth buying, do that. But also have those easy things to make that you can sell. This is why I love t-shirts so much. I do not feel they're a big effort to make. T-shirts are a great thing that people are going to buy. If I were selling, would have tons of tote bags. Tote bags are very fail-proof in making them, and there's something that if it is a trendy design or something people want, you could up the price on that. So keep that in mind. There's also upselling. If you are selling in person, making sure that you're saying things like, hey, I see you got a tote bag. Here's this great keychain that goes right on it and has this great phrase that goes with that. So make sure you're upselling. Oh, you're getting a t-shirt for Junior, make sure you get one for little Nellie as well. So making sure that you're upselling and that you're selling hard when you're selling are going to be things that are really going to help you out. And then of course, really looking at your brand, making sure that you are balancing those lower end items that are quick pickups as well as the things that do sell for more. I saw someone already this week saying, I went to my first holiday market. This is what I took. This is what I sold. How do I increase that? And then ask for advice. That's great. Go to people who know. Make sure you're asking those questions to make sure that you're always checking that for yourself, balancing what you're doing, and then making sure that you're marketing. Do people know where to find you? Do people know what you sell? Do people know that you sell? So going to those friends and family, going to anywhere where people may see you, making sure people know where you're going to be, people know what you're going to be selling, and making sure that you're selling products that people want to buy. Oh, that's very important. But all of these are ways that you can increase your return on investment. So make sure you check out our ROI calculator. If you want to know a little bit more about it, please make sure you use that button and sign up for a class with Rhodes. And then just make sure that you are doing both ends of this, the first two and the second two. Cutting the cost where you can, cutting down on waste, cutting down on time, but on the other end of it, doing those things that are going to make you more money too and make you more profit and help you sell more. And those are the two ways that you increase your return on investment. Cut the cost where you can and increase the price and increase the profit where you can as well. Rhodes, do we have any other questions or comments?
Lori said to know your customers too. If someone ordered a shower gift for you in June, reach out and see if they need a baby ornament.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, you know, you may not know, one of my hobbies is photography. And that's one of those things with photography is if you do a maternity shoot, make sure that you upsell to include a package for at least newborn, 3 months, 6 month, and 1 year photos. Or if you don't do that, if you do maternity shoots or if you do newborn photographs, make sure that you have something to send out so that you can catch them again at the 1 year mark. Well, it's the same thing. If you do something for a baby shower, if you do something for a gender reveal, make sure that you're keeping that contact information so that you can do that. Or making sure that you're contacting everyone right before Christmas so that they can get those ornaments with those new dates on it. So here, if you bought one of my 2025 ornaments, check out my list of all my ornaments for 2026. So those are the things that really help. And then the knowing your customer, also find out what they want. Use your social media and make sure that you're going, what 3 things would you like to see on ornaments? What themes would you like to see? Do you want to see 6, 7 on an ornament this year? Would you rather see things about your era or whatever it may be? So put those out there. Polls are really great to gather what people want to buy from you. All right. I think that's it. Rhodes, do you have any other ROI tips that I missed?
I think you got them.
All right. Well, thank you all so much for joining us today. Join us again tomorrow morning, and we're going to talk about optimizing ink use in your printer. I'm all about the big words this week. So we will see you again tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern. Y'all have a good day. Bye-bye.